And we're good. Alright, what's good, everybody? We're rocking and rolling here. Wow. How are we all feeling with stuff? Alright, so listen. I've been, like I've always said, it's not even that I've just been doing this shit with conspiracies since 2012. It's the fact that I've also cared about this shit since 2001. It's the fact that this shit was fascinating to me in the 90s, growing up with all the interesting possibilities that science fiction was telling me. You know, and of course, the X Files being so imaginatively close to probable and plausible, knowing about all these documents about UFOs and things lurking, and then everything else attached to it, and then all the other tertiary conspiracies, like being aware of the police state and things, right? And to retain such context of things moving forward, for that being such a strong impetus to your navigation, right? Listen, a lot of fear ended up driving it. It was, just feeling insignificant with the behemoth of society and the state stacked against you. And then you realize it's not just because they reflect, the attitude of all the adults around you in the state. It's that secretly they're also monsters. And we've really fucking arrived, right? And so it's like, I'm not going to sit here and live in the land of vindication forever, over this. But it is now time to press forward with everything, not just stare at it and behold it in awe, right? It's just, we have to do a thing or two about it. So we're going to continue on. It's great that this picture of Jeff popped up with the Talmud behind him. It makes people understand why shit like this is important. As people are looking that up, they're looking for Talmud. And then, if I'm lucky, they find me. And they don't care that I don't care about shirts. Mostly because I don't honor the Sabbath like that. Regulations concerning building, plowing, etc. on the Sabbath. Mishnah. Among the 40 less 1 principal acts of labor, building was enumerated. What is the least amount of building which will make a man culpable? The least possible amount. The same applies to stone masonry, smoothing with a hammer, at the close of the work. As for planing, he who planes the least bit, and for drilling, he who drills ever so little is culpable. For this is the rule: he who performs any act of labor which is of permanent value is culpable. Arsimin ben Gamaliel said, he who during his work strikes the anvil with his sledge is culpable because he virtually brings about labor. Gemara. Of what use is so small an amount of building? Said Ar Eha Bar Jacob. So small an amount of building is usually done by a householder who discovers a hole in the wall of one of his rooms and fills it up with wood or cement. And the instance of such work having been performed at the construction of the tabernacle is, when one of the boards contained a hole produced by worms, a little molten lead was poured into it, and it was thus filled. interesting that they chose to fill the hole with lead in particular, which, as we know, is the element of Saturn, and then that's what's up with them is the Saturnic cube. Is lead really is molten lead? Was that the best like that they could have used? Was it just simply the most available? Would not they want the best for God? Or is it to be the most plain suited for God, right? I mean, there's certain things that get all sorts of awe inspire and others that don't. And isn't the ark and the tablets an important thing? But anyway, Samuel said, "One who places a stone in the street for the purpose of paving the walk is culpable." An objection was made. We have learned elsewhere, if one furnish the stone for paving and another finish the mortar, the latter is culpable, says the Gebara. If you base your objection to Samuel's decree upon this Boretha, why do you not also cite the latter decree of the Boretha, which reads, Arthios says, "One who picks up a stone and places it upon a row of stones is also culpable." Hence we see that there are three different kinds of building. Building at the base, in the center, and on top. Building at the base only requires a solid foundation in the earth. Building in the center requires mortar. Building on top need only proper placing without the use of mortar. Stone masonry. In what category of labor can stone masonry be placed that its performance should make one culpable? 1 second. I seem to... Okay, I have to close this because I opened up. There we go. How's it going, Fat Cats? Yaten? Fat Cat's Yaten. I'm assuming you put the 8 in there because it's supposed to be Yaten. Anywho, pop out. And Samuel under the category smoothing. Oh, okay. Rab said it comes under the category of building, and Samuel said under the category of smoothing with a hammer. The same difference of opinion exists between Rab and Samuel in the case of one who bores a hole in a chicken coop that was not previously perforated. The former holds this to be building, while the latter regards it the same as smoothing with a hammer. It makes no difference to one who performs such labor unintentionally, for in either event he must bring a sin offering, regardless of what class of labor he performed. If he does only one act, but when he performs 2 acts there is a difference, if they are both of one category, he's bound to bring only one sin offering. But if they are of different categories, he must bring 2. Imagine having to keep track of this. Remember, when the temple is up and they're being real fucking literal in what this means, this is the difference between 1 or 2 goats. A whole living animal. Goat. You have to kill more animals the more you fuck up these things. These things are sins. Doing just a little bit of thing. You had to whittle away on something for 3 fucking seconds, unpaid probably. And you're in big fucking trouble because you did something today. Right? I mean, like, at the end of the day, the Sabbath is terrible. It's just you're under arrest for the fucking weekend. That's what this Sabbath is. You're under fucking arrest. All right. It makes no difference to one who performs it. Okay, yeah. So one scenario. But if they're different category, he must bring two. But in the case of one who performs such work with intention, even if he does only one act, it does make a difference. The witnesses to his deed, when warning him of his wrongdoing, must inform him just what class of labor he is engaged in executing. Should they tell him incorrectly, he cannot be held guilty. This applies to all cases where the Gemara asks as to the category of labor performed. The same differences of opinion also exist in the case of one who affixed a handle to a pickaxe, Rab classing such work as building and Samuel as smoothing with a hammer. A question was propounded by Arnathan bar Oshaya to Aryohanan: under what category of labor is stone masonry to be placed? Aryohanan answered him by making the sign of hammering with his hand. What is the sign of hammering? Like, he just went bang, bang, bang like that? For this is the rule. What additional significance does the statement "for this is the rule" contain? It applies to the hollowing out of a block of wood capable of holding a cob, about 4 lugs, a cavity a good deal smaller. Simeon ben Gamaliel said, "What labor is performed by striking an anvil with a sledge?" The Tosefta in the chapter explains it as follows, said Simeon ben Gamaliel: "He who during his work strikes the anvil with the sledge is culpable, because at the construction of the tabernacle, those that covered the boards with metal plate would strike the plates with their hammers." Mishnah: one who plows, grubs, weeds, or prunes ever so little is culpable. One who gathers wood for the purposes of using the space occupied by the wood is culpable if he gathers ever so little, but if he gathers it for the purpose of lighting a fire with it, he is culpable only if he gathered as much as is required to cook an easily boiled egg. If one gathered grass for the sake of the space occupied by it, he is culpable for gathering even ever so little. If for the purpose of feeding cattle, he does not become liable unless he gathered as much as a goat's mouth full. Gemara: of what use is a place where a man plowed ever so little? It may be used to plant 1 seed of a cucumber in. This was also done at the tabernacle, where 1 root was all that was necessary for dyeing, and was pulled out of the ground, thereby making a hole. This is not contradictory to what we have learned previously, that the minimum prescribed quantity for cucumber seeds was 2, because a man will not take 1 cucumber seed out for sowing, but when sowing, a separate hole is made for each seed, and thus the prescribed quantity in this case is limited to 1. One who plows, grubs, weeds, or prunes. The rabbis taught one who tears out herbs, which, when damp, are good for human food, for the purpose of eating them, is culpable if quantity equals or exceeds the size of a dried fig. For cattle, the prescribed quantity is that of a goat's mouthful. If the purpose of using for fuel, the prescribed quantity is as much as is used to cook an easily boiled egg with. If for the purposes of cleaning or weeding his place, he is culpable even for ever so little, is all the kinds of work not done for the sake of cleaning the place. Said Rabbah and Ar Yosef, the Mishnah treats of a case where even if the man was not standing in a garden belonging to an individual, but even if he did it in a public field, if his intention is to clean the place, he is culpable. Abaye said, the same is the case even if he did it in private field and had no intention to clean the place, as it did not belong to him, but to someone else. Mishnah: one who writes 2 letters with the right or with the left hand, be they of one denomination or of different denominations, or be they written with different inks, or be they letters of different languages or alphabets, is culpable. Arios said, the only reason that one is declared culpable for writing two letters is because they can serve as marks, for thus the boards used at the tabernacle were marked in order to be able to tell which fit together. Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi said, we also often find a short name which forms part of a long name, as Sam for Simon, and Samuel, Noah for Nahor, Dan for Daniel, and Gad for Gadiel. Gemara. It would be right if the Mishnah were to say that if one write with his right hand, he is culpable, because writing with the right hand is the general way, but writing with the left is entirely out of the ordinary. Why should he be culpable, said Arya. The Mishnah also refers to a left-handed man. A left-handed man, his left is his right, and his right is his left. Let him then not be culpable if he used his right hand, said Abaya. Okay, I'm left-handed, and that at least follows the logic, because I can give you a nice sloppy on this side. Okay. In case the Mishnah, a man is referred to as equal strength in both hands. Okay, that's ambidextrous. But Jacob said, son of daughter of Jacob, said, the Mishnah stands according to the decree of Arios that the reason of a man's culpability is because of the letters standing for marks, and the making of marks with either the right or the left hand is prohibited. How can the first part of the Mishnah be according to the opinion of Arios? It teaches further, Arios said, if the latter part is explicitly attributed to Arios, the first part cannot be in accord with him. Nay, the entire Mishnah is in accord with Arios. Say then, because Arios said. Rabbi said, we also often find a short name, etc. What does Rabbi mean by this teaching? Shall we assume that one is culpable only if he wrote two letters representing two different names? But if the two were merely an abbreviation of one, he is not culpable. Right? See, what's hysterical, what's madness about this whole book is that everything could just be summed up as like, dude, what part of just chill and do nothing for a whole fucking weekend do you not under fucking stand? Right? That makes way more fucking sense. Right? Because you're, and just, you might as well, I mean, if you gotta bring, like, a sin offering for a thing that you do, like, you might as well go big. Because, oh no, there was a catastrophe. There's a fire in the kitchen. If I don't do something... Like, I'm pretty sure emergencies, the rabbis aren't that crazy, right? Like, in fact, there might have been something about emergency I'm already forgetting. And could you blame someone for forgetting with all of this, with the way all of this shit is stacked up, and how it all seems repetitive. Like there's so much similar coherence to the logic of everything that you're just kind of swapping items and locations out and doing slightly different measurements, but you're working within the same fucking construct. So, okay. So it is, the names, but if two were merely an abbreviation of one name, he is not culpable? Did we not learn in a Boretha? It is written in Leviticus 4:2, and do of any one of them. One might assume from this verse that the man is not culpable unless he wrote the entire name or wove the entire cloth. Or he finished the whole length of the seam, therefore it is written of any one of them. Now, if we take of any one of them, literally the writing of even one letter, or the weaving of even one thread should make one culpable? Of any one of them, one might assume. Like, why? How does Leviticus 4:2, how does that quote answer that fucking question? In due of any one of them. Okay, so there's obviously, so let's get the context. Whoops, no. Go to copy, not paste. Copy. Thank you. All right. Actually didn't have to do that, but all right, whatever. Leviticus 4. Whoops, Leviticus 4. Okay, well, we're going to do, okay, so Leviticus 4:1 is Yahweh spoke to Moses, saying, speak to the sons of Israel, saying, when a soul sins inadvertently, departing from any of Yahweh's instructions of what should not be done, yet does one of them. If the anointed priest should sin so as to bring guilt on the people, then he shall bring near for his sin, with which he has sinned, a flawless bull calf of the herd, to Yahweh as a sin offering. Okay. So that's Leviticus 4:2. That's what he said, right? It is written in due of any one of them? Departing from any of Yahweh's instructions. Okay, this one, it's just, they've phrased it very differently. Okay, so, speak you to the sons of Israel to say of the soul that she is sinning, referring to the soul, which is called Thushta, as with a she. It's got a feminine context. Pronounced chata. Properly, to miss, hence, figuratively and generally, to sin. Okay. But then why is it she is sinning in this part? Anyway, that she is sinning in error. So a mistake or inadvertent, right? Okay, so that all follows from any of the instructions, which is the matzuth, or the mitzvah, a command, whether human or divine. All right, like a mitzvah, is that like where we get the word missive? Like asher, not they shall be done, and he does from one of them. All right. Instruction of Yahweh. Okay, so speak to the sons of Israel, saying, when a soul sins inadvertently, departing from any of Yahweh's instructions of what should not be done, yet does one of them. Okay. If for his sin, which is sin in a flawless bull calf. Okay. Right. So you bring the bull calf. So this is either if you sin inadvertently or the anointer priest should sin, then you have to bring the bull calf. All right, so he will bring the young bull to the opening of the tent of appointment before Yahweh and support his hands on the head of the young bull and slay the young bull before Yahweh. Then the anointed priest who is consecrated will take some of the blood of the young bull and bring it to the tent of appointment. The priest will dip his fingers into the blood and spatter some of the blood 7 times before Yahweh, before the curtain of the holy place. Now, there's something that that ritual is seen in a lot of things, right? That this ritual they were doing this ritual in the Northmen, right? That's what Fjolnir and the wife, they were doing that. I think even the priests, yeah, the priests or the shamans in the Temple of Odin at the beginning of the film were doing that also. And I was also making the comment of the Jewish kind of look of the whole kind of thing, and I feel like I still feel like there's something going on there which tells us something, and is probably something that is more, yeah. There's a lot to be said, and I'm not trying to badmouth nothing, but I think that, we have to just remember the paltering, and it's very interesting to see these kinds of things, and I'm pretty sure there was, because Eggers knows what the hell he's doing, that there was a good reference for the rituals being demonstrated as such. So anyway. The priest will put some of the blood on the horns of the altar of the incense of spices before Yahweh, which is in the tent of appointment. All the rest of the blood of the young bull shall he pour out at the fountain of the altar to a scent offering, which is at the opening of the tent appointment. Okay. See, I kind of find it interesting. See, when it says horns right here, the horns of the altar of Yahweh, it's just like, I want to say, we're talking about bull horns? We're not talking about the horns of that bull. The horns of the altar. And I've heard that Yahweh is a bull god. I've seen that big statue. He kind of looks kind of like Zeus, except he's got big fucking bull horns. So hold on a sec. And spices, freeze from the blood. The horns of. A horn as projecting by implication, a flask cornet by resemblance, an elephant's tooth, a corner of an altar, a peak of a mountain, array of figuratively of power. Yeah, there's no reason why that can't in context mean that. Depending on the context. And because they're using the word horn, and it's an animal that was slain by horn, but it's not about that animal's horns. It's about that animal's blood. So I just enjoy finding little hints like that. Anyway, hold on a sec. I want to make this thing go away. I don't know how to make that go away. Oh, hold on a sec. There we go. Thank you. All right. One might assume... Actually, you know what? Now's a really good time, I think, to... Yeah. Let's take the break here. All right. Today, we are listening to an old school band called Inanna. This is the Converging Ages album. You heard at the beginning, Doom of Mankind. This is going to be Gilgamesh. Hey, okay. We're back. Where was I? So, we're in the middle of a passage this time because I took a lot of time at the last minute going over the biblical reference. So, one might assume from the verse that the man is not culpable unless he wrote the entire name or wove the entire cloth, or he finished the whole length of the seam. Therefore, it is written of any one of them. Now, if we take of any one of them, literally the writing of even one letter, or the weaving of even one thread, should make one culpable. Therefore, it is written of any one of them. How should this be understood? One is not culpable until he writes a short name, which forms part of a long name, like Sam for Simon, or Samuel, Noah for Nahor. Like, Noah and Nahor, there's literally like a one letter difference in English. It makes more sense the way Nahor and Noah are spelled in Hebrew, I suppose, etc., etc. Rabbi Yehuda said, the two letters need not be part of a long name, but even if the two form a name of a thing in themselves, like Shesh, Teth, red, Gag, Shosh, Shesh, lion, Teth, to give, red, go, below, gag roof, Chosh, noseband. Said Arios, is then the man culpable because of writing? It is only because of making a mark, for thus were the boards of the tabernacle marked, in order that one mill tell which fit together. Therefore, if one made, excuse me 1 second. Okay. Sorry. Yep. Just, for the second time now, I have dived into the universe of investing in a thing, and I'm just talking to somebody, about it to make sure I'm doing it right. I've been sitting on one share of Uber for, years now. Years. Took forever for it to reach a point where it's starting to make me money. And I just bought 4 shares of something else. And I don't know if I should talk about it just because, I don't know how that whole I'm not a financial advisor thing. Yeah, and do not. Yeah. Roger. Took a few years. Anyway, so, thus the boards of the tabernacle. Yeah, in this. Okay, so is then the man culpable because of the writing? It is only because of making a mark. For thus were the boards of the tabernacle marked in order that one mill tell which fit together. Therefore, if one made but one scratch on 2 boards or 2 scratches on 1 board, he is culpable. Simon quotes the same verse, and do of any one of them, one might assume that the man is not culpable unless he wrote the entire name, etc. How should this be understood? One is not culpable until he has performed labor which is permanently fixed. Now, in the Boretha, we see that Ar Yehuda said the 2 letters need not be part of a name, but even if the 2 form a name, does not Ar Yehuda contradict himself? This presents no difficulty. In the above Mishnah, he gives his own opinion, while in the Boretha, he cites his master's opinion, because we have learned in another Boretha, Ar Yehuda said in the name of Ar Gamaliel, Remember, they're arguing about what's the secret on the Sabbath of, is it okay for me to do this with my hands? Like and this is like some sacred secret that they had to be like, well, this judge made sure he figured it out from the authority of this guy who knew it best in these verses, and then there's like nothing else other than it keeps following that script over and over again like that, instead of just laying things out on a spreadsheet like here are the rules from X to Z, right? You know, just laid out straight. Like, no, you gotta read the argument. You can't just lay the rules out straight. It's just like, are you trying to have a relationship with God? Or play a game of slaughter the least amount of chickens? I mean, what the fuck is this? It's just literally, it's a game of try not to get any chickens killed. That's what the fuck this is. It's a game of don't bring any death to the table. And it's done in the most annoying of fashions. All right. Okay, let's see. So, even if the two letters are not part of a long name, but form a name in themselves, he is culpable. For instance, Shesh, Teth, etc. Did not Simon say the very same thing at the first Tana? Perhaps one might say that a Simon refers to one who wrote two letters that have no meaning and are part of a long word. For instance, from Ezrico, I assisted you. In such a case, our Simon would be the stricter, and the first Tana the more lenient. Is this not contrary to our Simon's wont, as we have learned in a Tosefta further on? If one bore a hole with a drill, be the hole ever so small, he is culpable, etc. Probably yes, because that's something that's permanent. That would be my guess, would be the ruling thus far. Because it's just ever so small. Like, these are the least scientific possible fucking questions you could fucking ask, right? Our Simon, however, declares him free until the hole made was as large as it was originally intended to be. Well, I suppose that's fair under circumstances, as long as you're not fucking around and it's just obvious you were trying to drill like a screw all the way into a piece of wood, right? Like that would make fucking sense in simplistic terms. So declares free until the hole made was as large as it was originally intended to be. Answer and interpret our Simon's words thus. One might say that one is not culpable until he writes the whole verse. Therefore it is written of anyone, signifying that one word is sufficient. Rabbi said, we also often find, etc. How can the name of Sam be equal to Simon? The letter mem in Sam is an end, closed letter, while the mem in Simon is an open middle mem, said Arhista. From this we may infer that if one write by mistake an open mem instead of a closed mem in the scroll of laws, the scroll may be used. That's, see, like getting like look at that. You can nitpick the sound of the letter in the content, like you've just settled it, Right up above. You've just settled it about words, but then this guy is like, but wait a minute, closed versus open ended. Like, ha ha ha. It's just like, he's the guy in the class where you're like, shut up! Right? That's just you yell at the guy, just fuck, shut the fuck up, man! You're making it worse. It's like you're in detention. You know, you're in mandatory, you did nothing wrong but was born detention for the weekend. Right? That's what this is. This is the cult of the Breakfast Club. That's what that movie was trying to tell you. That this living by the Talmud on the Sabbath is like the Breakfast Club. It's just best to just sit there and do nothing. Otherwise, the guy's going to go like this because of the bullhorns, because of balls. We all get it now, right? He didn't do this because the guy in fucking detention was a metalhead. He did this because he was invoking Bull. He was like, he's saying like, I'm like the Minotaur of this maze. That's what he is saying. Because Baal worship was done low key by the Minoans because of how the Sumerians snuck into Greco-Roman, Baltic, Mediterranean culture and things like that. You know, the ways they got through everywhere and always try to hijack the relationship and correlation to everything because everybody else fits in one way via the animist original traditions, and then they fit in a hijacking of that, which works with a lot of other certain kinds of cults like the Zoroastrians and other kinds of cults that were popping up and doing similar things, hijacking various traditions. Same thing happened in India and Pakistan, Afghanistan, who all had very, very similar Sanskrit-oriented languages. Right? And the Philfot is, of course, the Indo-European swastika. Although we would not have used the swastika, though, is understood a little bit differently because you have to understand that it is not just the fire wheel. It is a sulfuric fire wheel. It uses sulfur fire. The swastika as a pagan symbol as such, by that merit, you could call it Lucifer's cross, couldn't you? That's maybe an appropriate English title for it. Maybe. If you understand how that works. Anyway. Case letter ma'am. The rabbi said to Aryosha ben Levi, there were some young men at the schoolhouse today, and they related such wonderful things as were never taught before, even in the time of Joshua the son of Nun. These are they. Aleph Beth means Aleph Bino, go and teach knowledge. Gimel, Daled, means Gemol, be bountiful, Dalim, to the poor. Why is the foot of the Gimel pointed towards to the Daled? Because so should be the feet of those who are bountiful, ever ready to seek beneficiaries. Why is the foot of the Daled pointed back towards the Gemel? In order that the poor man may know that he must not conceal himself from his benefactor. Why does the Deled turn its face from the Gemel? in order to teach us that the benefactor should give to the poor without ostentation, and that the poor man be not abashed. Hey, Vav, Zayin, Sheth, Teth, Yad, Kaf, Lamad means He Vav, which is the name of the Holy One. Blessed be He. Zayim Zon, He will feed thee. Sheth, Shein, will be gracious unto thee. Teth, Tov, will be good to thee. Iod, Erush Ash, He will make thee inherent in the world to come. Kaf, Keser, He will give thee a crown. Lamud, Lulim, Hebo, in the world to come. So here's these affirmations that go with this. And I can't tell exactly where this is relating to the above conversation about the writing, other than how it's going through this list of terms, and all of this is about the young men in the schoolhouse, right? And they were taught in the time of Joshua, the son of Nun, and these are they, and then it goes off and... So wait, are these their names, or is this what they learned in the schoolhouse? Wait, there were some young men in the schoolhouse today, and they related such wonderful things as were never taught before, even in the time of Joshua, the son of Nun. These are they. Oh, okay. Oh, so what... Okay, so this seems to be alluding to somebody who's very proud of their students because they... So apparently the kids had an epiphany or something that they were so proud of that it got put into the Talmud. Is that what that is? So that's what we just read, was this stuff that the schoolhouse kids had come up with. And it was all these word associations, right? This is what me and my time in the Weaving Spiders, and what I'll still do with Gabe and anybody in company as such. This pun craft is a major part of the Box Saga, and it has its place especially in a lot of early neurolinguistic decodings for a lot of different reference points, going through things with Temple of the White Dragon, because it's just part of studying the occult, prerequisites to that would, you'd be hard pressed to argue with it. So Lalumian Habo, in the world to come, mem open, middle, and mem closed, end, means memar, sayings. Memar is sayings. That sounds though like memir, which is memory, right? Because you've got mem and open memory, or so wait. Yeah, open memory or closed memory. Pathwak, open, implying that there are such sayings of God as are open to everyone. But memir sayings, sathom, closed, implying that there are sayings of God which are hidden to most men. Oh, that's interesting that this comes up today. I must have been psychically picking up on what was to come. Today I was having thoughts at work about secrecy, because I was thinking about Ganunga Gap, where the runes come from, and things like that. And I was thinking about, like, the difference between the secrets that a god is meant to tell you, and the secrets that a god will never tell anyone, not even other gods, right? And what that means about your secrets that you wouldn't tell anyone. You may not even utter them in the mirror. You keep them deep in the subconscious and dwelling in the heart mind. Right? That's how those vibe checks work with me, and my deep, dark, private things that I know that I couldn't tell a goddamn soul, and some that maybe I would tell a lady, but there'd still be something I would never tell. Anyway, then you have say them over here, which that's not too far off from shaitan, implying that there are sayings of God which are hidden to most men. And okay, so say them means implying that there are sayings of God which are hidden to most men. And that's so wild that if that's phonetically accurate to how that word is pronounced in their language, that sounds so close to shaitan or Satan that you could almost imagine that there were easy mistranslations of things, especially in the oral tradition, or just what you picked up hearsay even. Nun curved, middle, and nun straight, end, means Niman, an upright man. Kaf, curved, should be curved, bowed down, modest in this life and in the life hereafter. He will become a Niman, an upright man. A Pashut, straight. Samek means smokosh, or assist. Hang on. So this goes on for a second. We're at 9:04, so we're going to take the next break. All right, this next Inanna song is called Beyond Time and Memory. All right. Running around like a goddamn madman, wondering where the heck all my shit went. All right. All right. Let's see here. Hey, what's up? It's Pasta Man. What's good, dude? All right, so we were over here. So then it goes to Ayin means anim, the poor. Peh, round, middle. And peh, straight, end. Means peh, a mouth. Pasoch, shall be open to teach. And peh, mouth. Sasum, shall be closed to slander. Zadi, round, middle. Zadi, straight, ends, means Sadiq, a righteous man. Should be modest and fearless, straight. Kuf means kadosh, or holy. Implying who does all that has been mentioned is holy. Resh means rashash, wicked, implying who does the contrary is wicked. Why does the crown of the Kuf look down upon the Resh? Just as the Kodash, the Holy One, blessed be He, looks down upon Roshash, the wicked, saying, turn from thy ways, and I shall also give thee a crown. All right, so, they're talking about all this crowning stuff, which is all, probably is supposed to be allegorical to, like, crown chakra, things of activating crown chakras or something like that. In the parlance that this originally comes from, and I find it interesting. That's Kodash, Holy One, blessed be He. So that's like saying Yahweh, right? Which is, so is Kadosh another name for God that replaces the secret name of God? Like Yahweh is the stand-in for the name of God, right? That's the whole bit about Yahweh. It's the closest thing. It's your, like, supplicant, like, special name, because he won't tell you the special name, so you get to have this fake special name just so we know who the hell you're talking about. And right, and then you got Kodashim over here, which means Holy One, right? So Kadash is the Holy One, and Kodashim is the holiness. So anyway, looks down on the Roshash, which is kind of interesting because isn't there that holiday Rosh Hashanah, and then you have Rashash. So what does Rosh Hashanah? Is there a play on words? Rosh Hashanah is that Jewish or Muslim? Hold on a second. I'm going to double check that fact. Yeah, no, it's Jewish. Rosh Hashanah is Jewish. It's the new year. Right. All right. If he turns from his ways. Shin means shikar, a lie. Shin means a lie. But hold on a second. Isn't shin Shin is in something else, though. Hold on a minute. Shin. It's like in metaphysics, I've heard the term. Hold on a second. Wait, is this Buddhist, right? Alright, so I'm getting the biblical Shin. But Shin also is in Buddhist. Hold on a second. Yeah, there's Shin Buddhism. Right, the structure of Shinshu. Shinran's thought thus far, we have emphasized this religious experience. Oh, come on. I need a give me like the Reader's Digest answer. Hold on a second. Shin Buddhist short explanation. Let's see. All right, so one second. Shin Buddhism in a nutshell. The path of grace, the heart of gratitude. Shin Buddhism was founded 800 years ago in Japan by the religious reformer Shinran Shonin. The Shin path is the latest branch. Okay. What does Shin... Okay. Shin... I know it must mean something and something. All right. One sec. If I can't get Shin in Sanskrit... Translate into Shinjin from Sitra, Buddhist hybrid Sanskrit, can indicate belief, trust, or faith. There's Shinjin, Shin meaning. Hold on a second, this might answer it. Sorry, exact match is not available. That's fine, what's close to it? Shin, front part of the human leg, inner and thicker, no, the twice cut of meat from the lower part of the leg. Shin climb awkwardly as by scrambling. Now it's giving me all those other answers for Shin. Okay. Then I guess the closest answer I get is Shinjin, which is a central concept in Japanese Pure Land Buddhism, which indicates a taste of mind which totally entrusts oneself to Amida's Buddha's other power. Having utterly abandoned any form of self-effort or calculation, the term has been variously translated as faith, entrusting heart, true entrusting, mind of true faith, and so on. Okay, so that's very interesting in juxtaposition to Shin being a lie and its relationship to faith in that respect. So anyway, and Thaf means emuth, true. So you've got Shin and is lie, Thaf is truth. Because Shin means sheker, and sheker means lie. Thaf means emeth, and emeth means truth. So you got sheker and emeth. Why are the letters of sheker so near to one another? The order of sequence in the alphabet is resh, kuf, shin, and emeth so far from one another, being the first, middle, and last letters of the alphabet, because lies are very frequent, while truth is very scarce. Why have the letters in sheker but 1 foot, while those in emeth have so many? Because lies will finally totter, while truth will stand supreme. So, that is a bullshit exoteric, like that's a real bullshit, like make it sound like that's the answer. You're not going to argue with me because I'm the fucking rabbi. Like, talk about, like, imagine, for those of you who are Bachsagists, imagine if that's the answer. If that's the answer that Eeyore Bach gave you about, like, why is the word for lie over here like this and the word for truth over here like this? And oh my god, the world is a lie? The world is more lie than truth? Oh no! I can't stand it. I can't live in this place. This helps the Gnosticism. And you know what? I believe that this point was made earlier, right? Like there's a little bit of a repetition, I think, in this statement, if I recall properly. Because I think I remember reading it just a couple pages ago. Didn't I just read this idea? Sorry, I had to take an on-screen hit. I didn't really get a hit during the last break because I couldn't find my stuff, and this isn't even the stuff I was looking for. All right. Excuse me. Mishnah, one who through forgetfulness at one time wrote 2 letters is culpable. He may have written with ink, paint, dye, gum, or vitriol, or with anything making a permanent mark. So, literally, that would mean furiously, right? Like, so he had no materials, like he must have been etching it into the wood or into the paper or something. Let's see. Of an arithmetical book. Hold on, I'm sorry. With vitriol or with anything making a permanent mark. Further, one who wrote on 2 walls forming a corner or on 2 covers of an arithmetical book so that the 2 letters can be read together is culpable. One who writes on his own body is culpable. One who tattoos letters in his flesh, our Eleazar holds him culpable for a sin offering, and our Yahoshua holds him to be free. Now so I thought it was pretty fucking clear that you don't even get tattoos if you're going to be in the club. And here we're just talking about putting a tattoo on you during the Sabbath. And allegedly you can do that if you decide to follow Yehashua. So I got ink, so if I were in the club, I'd have to be in Yahshua's club, right? Because I might have to ink up on the Sabbath because I got to find a loophole because I can't put it anywhere else in my schedule. And I got to get inked. Do we see how that doesn't make any sense? Like, seriously, why are we having this? Why are we talking about tattooing on people at all? Because you're not supposed to tattoo at all. It says so in the book. If one writes with dark liquids, with fruit juice, or in road dust, in fine sand, or in anything that does not retain the writing, he is free. But wait, I thought we couldn't even write like half a letter, or we're just talking about that only counts when it's in a permanent fashion, right? Like this is how nonsensically, like, I think it's real simple, man. it's like this is just we got to make people do something that doesn't work and make them suffer for it every week. And you win invisible prizes for doing it right. They don't even have to give you anything. You don't even get a reward. In fact, you had to lose like hundreds of goats over the course of your life. If one write with dark liquids, okay, so if one writes with the back of his hand, with his feet, with his mouth, with his elbow, or if one write one letter to another letter that had already been written, or writes over letters that had been written before, or when one's intention was to write a cheth and wrote to Zayans, or if one write one letter on the ground and another on the wall, or on two separate walls, or on two separate pages of a book. When the two letters cannot be read together, he is free. If one wrote one abbreviated letter, Ar Yehuda ben Bethaira holds him culpable and the sages hold him free. Gemara. Or, with anything making a permanent mark, etc. What other additional things does the Mishnah mean to express by this? Our Hanaya taught it means if one wrote with berry juice or with gall nuts, he is also culpable. Our Haya taught if one wrote with graphite, soot, or black ink, he is culpable. I probably understand being a Jew right now more than I could possibly understand being like the like on a football team. And that's because I don't care about football. But anyway, one who tattoos two letters on his flesh, etc. We have learned in Aboretha, said Elazar to the sages, did not the son of Satadai bring witchcraft out of Egypt through tattooing on his flesh? Answered the sages. He was a fool, and we do not cite single instances of fools. Okay. The son of Satadai bring witchcraft out of Egypt. Interesting. I'm going to double check on that in a minute. That's a thread I want to pull. Hey, what's up, Tim Timony? If one write one letter to another letter, etc., according to which Tana's opinion is this, said Rabba bar Arhuna, this is not according to the opinion of Ar Elazar, for Ar Elazar said that if one add another thread to one already woven, he is culpable. Okay, so let me find out okay, I want to find, let me see if I can find something worth popping up on the screen, perhaps. We're going to take a break soon, too. Egypt, son of Satadai. What we got here? Hang on. Oops, out of place now. Where'd I go? Was I up here? I was up here, right? Yes, I think so. Sun, if anything makes permanent mark, no, right? Sorry, now I'm all out of place. Shoot, I lost my place. Where's this son of Zadadai situation? There's Kadash, so I'm not up the vitriol. culpable, sin offering, fine, does not with his feet, want to write with his letters. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Did not the son of Satadai bring witchcraft? Yes. Okay, there we go. Son of Satadai is a figure mentioned in the Talmud associated with witchcraft and tattooing is reference and discussion about the legitimacy of certain practices and beliefs within Jewish law. Hold on a second. Okay. Son of Satadai is not widely recognized historical figure, but is referenced in rabbinic literature associated with witchcraft. He is noted for allegedly practicing witchcraft, which was viewed negatively by the sages at the time. Talmudic sages dismissed his actions, full indicating that his practices were not to be emulated. Okay, that's what they mean by that. Hold on. The mention of the son of Satadai reflects the broader cultural religious attitudes towards magic, witchcraft, in ancient Jewish society, particularly this figure serves as serves as an example. Okay. There's not much in there. So, okay, so this son of Satan, like, he's just in the Talmud, I guess. And I guess they don't have anything else about him. So there's not really anything to say. For all we know, this is the only place where he's mentioned. I have to assume that this is Exodus times. Or something to that effect. And so I guess this question is very interesting because I guess they are, right, because I think they're having the same confusion as I am. Why is there a Sabbath regulation that has leeway that permits tattooing on the skin in a limited capacity, but yet at the same time they still forbid tattooing on the skin because of because of witchcraft? Do you see how there's a complete incoherence here? Anyway, we are going to take another break on this one here and come back in a little bit. We're 90 minutes into the show. We're listening to Inanna's Converging of Ages album. This is The Delicate Balance of Terror. All right. So don't mind me. I am chewing some delicious things. I got some gluten-free cheese crackers, and they're pretty good. They're pretty good. I would take these over the usual version of these cheese crackers, which we're not going to say the name of because I'm not interested in promoting them. And so Tim says, Happy Friday the 13th, talks about Bill Cooper's thing about the King of France. Yep. A couple people were talking about that today. And as you know, I am of Templar descent. And part of my Norman side is French. I am North English on my grandfather's side, but I am French on my grandmother's side. On my father's side, right? So that's the whole makeup of half of me. So anyway. All right, enough of hearing me chew in your ear. It's probably terrible. If one write one letter, I think I was reading that. Where did I stop? I think I stopped right here. Right? Finishing a book differs from... No, I didn't read this. All right, we'll start right here, then. If one write one letter to another letter, etc., according to which Tana opinion is this. If Rabba bar Arhuna said this is not according to the opinion of Elazar, for Elazar said that if one add another thread to one already woven, he is culpable. We have learned in Aboretha, if one wrote one letter at the end of any scriptural book, thereby finishing that particular book, or if one added another thread to one already woven, he is culpable. However, to which Tana's opinion is this, said Ar Rabba bar Arhuna. This is in accordance with the opinion of Ar Elazar, who said that if one add another thread to one already woven, he is culpable. Ar Ashi said, we may assume that the opinion of the sages does not conflict with this opinion, because the case of finishing a book differs from that of adding another thread. Hence, according to their opinion, one is also culpable for finishing a book by adding one letter. We have learned in Aboretha, if one corrected one letter in the scroll of laws, he is culpable. How can this be? One is not held culpable for writing one letter. How can the Boretha hold one culpable for merely correcting one letter? Said Ar Shesheth, here a special case is treated of i.e. if one take off the top bar of the sheth and make two zayins out of it, Rabbah said, the same is the case if, for instance, one remove the square portion of a daled and form a resh therefrom. If one wrote one abbreviated letter, etc., how do you abbreviate a letter? Or do they mean like a letter? Not like a letter, like a character, but like you had like a one-page letter that you wrote, like a message. Etc. Ar Yohanan said in the name of Aryos ben Zimra, whence do we know that there are abbreviated letters in the scriptures? As it is written in Genesis 17:5, Ki ab hamuan goyim nesestisha, for the father of a multitude of nations have I made thee. Ki ab hamuan goyim nasethishta. This is in Genesis with the word goyim. That's interesting. All right, Genesis 27:5. Let me look at this. 27:5. Ki Ki hab abuana neta. I don't see that in the translated. Let me look around it. Goyim. Hold your father speaking. Do you bring some game prepared? The scriptural verse may be off by something, so bear with me here. I'm going to go back to verse 1. It came to be when Isaac was old. Let me pop this up. It came to be when Isaac was old and his eyes were too dim to see, he called his elder son Esau and said to him, "My son." He answered him, "Here I am." All right. And he said, "Behold, now I am old and I do not know the day of my death. So now, please take up your gear, your arrow holder, and your bow. Go out to the field and hunt some game for me. Prepare for me a tasty dish, just as I like. Do bring it to me and let me eat, in order that my soul may bless you ere I die." All right, so that's what's going on here. Now Rebekah had heard Isaac speaking to his son Esau when Esau was gone to the field hunting the game for his Isaac. Rebekah said to her junior son Jacob, saying, "Behold, I heard your father speaking to your brother Esau, saying, 'Do bring me some game and prepare a tasty dish for me. Let me eat that. May I bless for Yahweh before my death. And now, my son, hearken to my voice and what I am instructing you. Go now to the flock and take for me from there 2 kids of the goats, tender and good, and I shall prepare them as a tasty dish for your father, just as he likes.'" So far the story is about mom saying, "You don't got to go hunt game yourself. Just go grab the goats and I'll do the rest of the work. So you must bring it to your father, and he will eat in order that he may bless you before his death." Yet Jacob said to his mother, "Behold, my brother Esau is a hairy man, but I am a smooth-skinned man." So where are we getting to the point here with, "For the father of many nations have I made thee"? We're not even... Genesis 20... Wait, I am sorry. I'm in the wrong spot. Let's forget this. Let's forget all of this interesting stuff going on in there. I don't care. I'm sorry. 17:5. I'm terrible. So your name shall no longer be called Abram, but your name will become Abraham, for a father of a throng of nations have I appointed you. Okay, all right, so that's that shit, right? See, okay, so let's see if I can find where it says Ki ab hamuan goyim. Goyim, right here. Okay, here it is, nation. Well, hold on a second. Why is... So, if the... All right, there are already other not Semitic people. Yeah, there's already other not Semitic people in the world, and there's also other Semites that aren't Abraham because of other descendants of Shem. Okay, not all descendants of Shem are descendants of Abraham. This is where the Semitism thing goes awry. So he's so is he the father? Is Abraham the father of slavery? If it's about Goyim as slave, and which is equivalent to nation, is it always equivalent to nation? I could have sworn there was a different word than Goyim for. I thought there were 2 different words for nation. Goyi. It's Goyi, apparently. I guess the M is silent. Goyim? Goyi. Anyway, apparently from the same root as this in the sense of massing, a foreign nation, hence a Gentile, also figuratively a troop of animals or a flight of flight of locusts are also goyim too. And then this is geva or geva is something that's equivalent to it. It's the feminine, the back, i.e. by extension, the person. Gave, corresponding, the back by analogy, the middle. Okay, all right, that's going to run me crazy in circles. All right. I'll cause you to be exceedingly fruitful. I will make nations of you, and kings shall come forth from you. I have set up my covenant between me and you and your seed after you throughout their generations as a Aeonian covenant to be Elohim to you and to your seed after you. And I give to your seed after you, the land of your sojourning, all the land of Canaan, as an Aeonian holding, and I will be Elohim to them. Then Elohim spoke to Abraham, as for you, you shall keep my covenant, you and your seed after you throughout their generations. I'm trying to see where the delineation between when does the seeds break off from being just the nations of Abraham or whatever, and then or is this excluding them? But then he's using the word goyim. This is very interesting. I could have sworn it was a different word for nation. But anyway. And your seed after you throughout their generations. Actually, let me double check something on my phone here. Okay. Other words for nation in Hebrew Bible. All right. Oh, whoops. No, go back. Go back. All right. Nation. So we got the Goyim is the most popular nation of people. Several other words are used to denote nations, ethnic groups, or communities. These include the Am, the Leom, or the people's nation, the Ummah, the tribal unit or nation, and the Mishpapa, the family clan lineage. Okay, so that's interesting. So there's the Goy, there's the Am, which generally refers to a people or a nation, often with a focus on a smaller, more specific group of peoplehood, i.g. Am Yisrael, the nation of Israel. Okay. The Leom or Leumim, which sounds kind of like Lemuria, doesn't it? Refers to the people or nations often used in a broader, more poetic or tribal sense. Yeah, the Leom or the Leumin. Or Leumim. That sounds almost elvish. I kind of like the way that sounds, though. Then there's the Ummah or Ummat. Appears less frequent, such as Genesis 25:16, usually in the plural to denote tribal units of nations. Okay, that makes sense. And then the Mishpapa, translated as family, clan, or kindred, but often used to refer to ethnic or national groupings in the context of nations in Genesis. And then there's one more, the Nochri. Often translated as stranger or foreigner, it can denote people of other nations. So they got more terms than just the Goy, but they go hard on the word Goy. And they do use that to call us chattel. It is a derogatory because it also means to be chattel. So all the seeds, namely you will be circumcised in the flesh of your foreskin. This will be the covenant sign between me and yourselves. Bini Kim. Well, you see, here's the thing. He says yourselves. Properly constructive form of an otherwise unused noun, a distinction, but used only as a preposition between repeat because now from with also x out of with there it be. And between you. Okay, because of that's because he's talking to them as a couple. All right, there's two people there. That makes sense. All right. Moving on. Throughout your generations, every male among you shall be circumcised when he is 8 days old. Anyone born in the household or acquired with money from any foreigner's son who is not of your seed. This is how you know this God is not a God. Just like any God that talks to you this directly is not a God and tells you to do all this stuff. He shall be circumcised. Yeah, circumcised. The manservant born in your household or acquired with your money. Thus will my covenant be marked in your flesh as an Aeonian covenant. All right. So all the people will know. Don't let me speak to further. But what about everybody? What about all these many nations, right? She will give rise to nations. And Abraham fell on his face. He laughed and said in his heart, can a child be born to one who is 100 years old? Is that exactly how she is? To a son who is 100. Okay, right, yeah. Says the one Elohim, oh, that Ishmael should live before you. Right. All right. Anyway, I know this. We all know this fucking story. Anyway, that's a very widely known story. So yeah. All right. So the father of the multitude of nations, right? So I do find it kind of crazy. Like it does use that word, right? So that the thing that makes that make no sense is that then that's if that's an accurate use of the word here, then the insult of calling people goyim as a nation kind of doesn't work. It only works with the with a certain with the fact that you've got the cattle punditry to it. Because unless the whole bit is that Abraham would be making, in a more particular way, he'd be making the 12 tribes of Israel, but then he'd also be having others. Now, he did have others, in fact, of course, but I don't remember all the genealogical stuff, but, he has, I think, Ishmael with his mistress. He's got his wife and he's got his mistress. His mistress is of reproductive age, and his wife is 100 years fucking old. Okay, so then anyway. Merely one correcting letter. Where was I? writing one letter to another. This is accordance. And added to her. We haven't learned one corrected one letter in the scroll of law. He is culpable. How can this be? One is not held culpable for writing one letter. How can the Boretha hold one culpable for merely correcting one letter? Said Arshasheth. Here, a special case is treated of, i.e., if one take off the top bar of the sheth and make two zayins out of it, Rabbah said, the same is the case if, for instance, one remove the square portion of a daled and form a resh therefrom. If one wrote one abbreviated letter, etc., Aryahanan said in the name of Aryos ben Zimra, whence do we know that there are abbreviated letters in the scriptures? As it is written in Genesis... I'm sorry, I did read all that. Look at me. I got so hung up on everything over here. In the word, the Aleph is the abbreviation of Ab, father, and the Beth stands for Bachor. Selected, Hamaon stands for Haviv, lovely, Melech, king. Look at that. So you've got Melech as a king, but Malak, the Malak, M-A-L-A-K, I think, is the messenger, in context, the messenger of God, thus angels. And so just the fact that you got Melech to Malak is crazy, right? So on a deep psychological level, you're hearing the word of the king like it's a message from God. Because you're naming yourself an angel. Vethig, modest. Naaman, upright. All this I have made thee among the nations. Aryahanan declares of his own accord. The 10 Commandments commence with Anaushi, when it could be Ani, meaning I am. The Anaushi is an abbreviation of Ano, I, Nafshi, my soul, Kethophith, I have written, Yehovith, and have given. Anaushi is an abbreviation of for Ano. Ano is shorter than Anaushi. Ano is short for it, not the other way around. Hold on. Right? And this sounds like it's a weird mesh on Anunnaki. So I want to pop this name in. Very strange search results when I pop this word in. Something there's like little sister, little sister, Belrose music. Is that what it means? Does it mean little sister? I can't go on that because that's just an artist. Like, I'm trying to figure it out, and I saw this one thing, and I'm wondering if it's trying to say that that's what Anauchi means. Hold on. Okay, the words, music, interpreted, video, faith, mixed films, Leas Barlig, Mount Province. Sorry, hold on. Does it have lyrics? Faith Storehouse Studio Property? Hang on. Okay. Well, it's something religious, but it's like I don't know. It's like in the Philippines or something. All right. Anyway, let's take the next break. Sorry about that. It's kind of a funky night like that. Let's roll. This is gonna be The Lighthouse. Hey, that was gnarly. I think that was an instrumental, right? That was wicked. All right. Okay, let's jump back into the madness. Where are we at here? We're on 206 out of 346. So we got 140 pages to go. Not bad. The Anouchi is an abbreviation for Ano. Alright, yeah, I already read that. So, Mishnah. If one, through forgetfulness, at two different times write two letters, say one in the morning and the other toward evening, our Gamaliel holds him to be culpable, and the sages declare him free. On what point do our Gamaliel and the sages differ? Our Gamaliel does not consider the consciousness of its being Sabbath during the time intervening between the perpetration of the two acts, each of which executed only half the prescribed deed, as being of any consequence, but considers the two unfinished acts as one prolonged act done unintentionally and making the perpetrator culpable. The sages, however, consider the consciousness of Sabbath during the period intervening between the two unfinished acts as neutralizing of the unintentional character of the unfinished acts, and thus makes the perpetrator not culpable. Woo! Hey, look at that. And that's the end of an actual chapter, too. Well, that's fun. How long is this next chapter? Let me see here. I'm going to open up the page tab on the side. Take a look. Okay. All right. Let's keep going. We're probably going to keep going anyway, but... All right. So here's your footnotes. Oh, who is Ben Satadai? See the works of Professor Derenbohr. I'm glad I caught that. I would have fucking skipped over that, which I shouldn't have done. I noticed that there was a little note thing there. Hey, what's up, Telonius? Got a steak ready for these, my friends. All right. Excuse me. Hang on. Paste. Joseph Derenberg, Naftali Derenberg, was a Franco-German Orientalist. He was born in Mainz as the youngest son of lawyer Jacob Derenberg, considered 1911 Encyclopedia Britannica. He was educational revival of Jewish education. Okay, so this guy. Okay, so Professor, one second. Let's see if there's anything on the internet about what he said. Borg on Ben Satadai. Actually, what's really interesting is that he also sounds like Saturday. Satadai. Did I spell that right? Hold on. Yeah, with two T's. Good. All right. Nothing about him pops up on the internet. So it would be nice to have a frickin' idea of which book discusses it. I don't need to know that much. I don't want to know that much. But little things like that I like to know. But anyway. Chapter 13. Regulations concerning the weaving, tearing, hunting, etc. on the Sabbath. Mishnah. R. Elazar said, one who weaves on the Sabbath is culpable as soon as he has woven 3 threads at the beginning of the web, and with a web already begun, the addition of 1 thread suffices to make him culpable. The sages said, both at the commencement of a new web, as well as at the continuation of one already begun, the prescribed quantity making one culpable is 2/3. One who attaches 2 threads to the web, either to the warp or to the shoot, to the fine or to the coarse sieve or to the basket, is culpable. Also, one who sews 2 stitches or tears asunder in order to sew together with 2 stitches. Gemara. When Itzhak came to Babylon, he taught that Elazar said, 2 threads and not 3, as stated in the Mishnah. But we learned thee, this is no contradiction. Ar Itzhak refers to thick threads and the Mishnah to him. One who attaches 2 threads, etc., said Abaya, this means one who attached 2 threads to the web and 1 in the web. One who sews 2 stitches, etc., was not taught in the Mishnah, treating of the principal acts of labor, because in the succeeding Mishnah the rule is taught concerning one who tears while in rage or through grief at the death of a near relative. Sewing and tearing is repeated in this Mishnah. Sorry, just taking a peek. Okay, that's good to know. Good to know. All right. Sounds good. Okay. Or tears asunder in order to sew together with 2 stitches. How is this to be imagined? If by tearing the thing one means to spoil it, he may tear even as much as will require any number of stitches and not be culpable. But if he tears in order to sew together with 2 stitches and thus improve the thing, how can that be done? This can be done in the case of a piece of cloth protruding from a garment, which one would tear off, then sew up the remaining rent. Mishnah. One who tears a thing while enraged or through grief, an account of his dead, and in general all who spoil a thing are not culpable. If, however, one destroy a thing with the intention to mend it, the prescribed quantity making him culpable is determined according to the prescribed quantity of the act by which it is mended. The prescribed quantity of wool when being washed, carded, dyed, or spun is a thread the length of a double sit. 1. In the weaving, the prescribed quantity for wool is the breadth of 1 sit. There is a contradiction. We have learned in a Boretha, one who tears a thing while in a rage or through grief or through mourning for the dead is culpable, and although he desecrates the Sabbath, the duty of tearing, ordained in cases of mourners for the dead, is fulfilled. This presents no difficulty. The Boretha treats of the case of a man who tore his garments on account of the death of one whose account it was his duty to tear his garment, while the Mishnah treats of the case of a man who did not do so for duty's sake, but on account of a death of a stranger, and this is not being his duty. He merely spoiled his garment. How can you say that the Mishnah treats of a man who tore his garment on account of the death of a stranger? It says distinctly his dead. Yeah, it says his dead, but he has such relatives on whose account he needs not tear his garment, though it may be his duty to bury them. He being the nearest living relative, and tearing one's garment becomes a duty only in the event of the death of a father, mother, son, daughter, brother, or sister. Now, there is no contradiction then as far as mourning for the dead is concerned, but there surely is as regards one who is enraged in the Boretha. He is held culpable, and in the Mishnah he is not. Here also there is no difficulty. The Mishnah's statement is in accord with Arsaimon's decree, who holds that one is not culpable of performing a deed not for his own sake, while the Boretha is in accord with the opinion of Ari Yehuda, who holds one culpable of performing work even not for its own sake. But you have heard that Ari Yehuda's opinion only applied to an act by which a thing was mended. Did you also hear that he decreed thus in the case of where a thing was destroyed, said Ar Abhin? This is also a case of mending because it relieves the man's mind. And while he may spoil the garment, at the same time he abates his fury. Is such action permitted? Have we not learned that Simon ben Elazar said in the name of Hilfa bar Agra, quoting Ar Yohanan ben Nuri? Oh my God. I hate these derivative things that it's such a he said, she said. But anyway, he who tears his garment in his fury, or he who breaks his vessel, or he who throws away his money while in a rage shall be regarded in your eyes as a worshipper of idols, because such is the custom of the misleader. Okay, hold on. Let's check this again. He who tears his garments in his fury, or he who breaks his vessels, or he who throws away his money while in a rage, shall be regarded in your eyes as a worshipper of idols, because such is the custom of the misleader. Okay, so he's saying that it is Satan's way that when you have the emotion of anger, that you do all of these things. Like you rip your clothes like you're the Incredible Hulk, or, you're having Batman, your Michael Keaton as Bruce Wayne, and you're talking to the Joker, like, let's get nuts, right? He shall be, he throws away his money while in rage. Throws away his money while in rage. I'm wondering exactly what you customarily throw. Like, I have never been... I mean, like, I've been so angry I've wanted to maybe spend money I wasn't going to spend because now I'm stressed out and I want to buy a thing to relieve my stress. So they regard it like idol worship. And I think that if we're going to accurately say that such gestures, and especially as market gestures, because of emotional state, makes that idol worship, effectively, by extension, anything that you buy for pleasure, right? Which gets into all the bullshit about don't fucking enjoy this life. Okay? So, but, I mean, the first two, he who tears his garments or breaks his vessels. Yeah, no, that makes but that makes a certain amount of sense though. Those first two, right? because you're letting the rage spirit like have at you, perhaps, right? I wonder how these people felt about like the berserkers. I mean, like, yeah, you're not gonna be able to handle you see like a punk or a metalhead walking down the street with ripped jeans. Do you go running because, oh my god, an idol worshiper? But yeah, but no, I mean, like, it's kind of like saying, well, no, he's just being a performative male, so screw him, right? Right? Like, to me, that would be a little bit more honest. It's just like, no, you see, these are performative males. You don't want to be performative. That would make you sad and suck. Anyway, today he says to one, do so tomorrow, do something else, until he tells one to go and worship idols, and the man does so. Ar Abin added to this, where can a scriptural passage be found prohibiting this? Psalms something 10, LXXI. There shall not be among thee a foreign god, nor shalt thou bow thyself down to any strange god. This means that no foreign god or misleader shall be in thy heart, because it says, Besho in thee. The latter part of the verse infers that if he allows the misleader to dwell in his heart, it will bring him to bowing down to idols. Well, let's just say that the misleader brings one to bow down in general. Then I am with good gods, because my gods tell me not to bow at all. How about that? How about that? Such actions is permitted only when a man is not in an actual fury, but wishes to appear as if enraged in order to command obedience from his family. Okay. Not in an actual fury. Well, so that's even funny, because this is like, okay, if you're a fake-ass performative male because you want to be a tyrant and boss everybody around, that's fine. Oh, that's fine. Is this fine all the time, or are we just saying it's fine on the Sabbath? Anyway, as Arahat Bar Jacob used to do, when he wanted to show displeasure at the deeds of his family, he would take up a broken vessel and shatter it, making his family believe that he was furious and was breaking whole vessels. Weird. If only I had a dad who would fake how many times he wanted to rip my head off as a child for terrible habits and behaviors and listening problems and all the things that come with trying to unconsciously avoid Jeffrey Epstein getting in your head. All right, let's roll with the last break. Where's our songs? This is Embracing the Fleshless. Alright. Embracing the fleshless ecstasy. Bang. Back at it. Alright, said our Simon ben Pazi, in the name of our Yahashua ben Levi, quoting Bar Kepaira, the tears shed by a man on account of the death of an upright man are counted by the Holy One, blessed be he, and stored in his treasury, as it is written in Psalm LVI 9. My wanderings hast thou well numbered. Put thou my tears into thy bottle. Behold, they are numbered by thee. Ar Yehuda, in the name of Rab, said, one who is slow to mourn the death of a scholar deserves being buried alive. As it is written, jeez. Hey, listen, I honor all manner of author, but dear God, man, relax. Psalms LVI 9, my wanderings hast thou, well, wait, I'm sorry, no. One who is slow to mourn, Joshua 24:30. And they buried him on the border of his inheritance at Thimna Sarach, which is on the mountain of Ephraim on the north side of Mount Gaash. Gaash signifies storm, and from this it is inferred that because the people did not mourn the death of Joshua, the mount stormed and tried to bury them alive. Said Ar Haya Bar Abba, in the name of Ar Yohanan, one who is slow to mourn the death of a scholar will not have long life. This is in retaliation, because he did not mourn the death of the scholar, his own death will be hastened. As it is written in Isaiah 26:8, in measure, by driving him forth, thou strivest with him. Arhaya bar Abba objected and said to Ar Yohanan, how canst thou say that one who is slow to mourn the death of a scholar will not have long life? Is it not written in Judges 2:7? And the people served the Lord all the days of Joshua and all the days of the elders that lived many days after Joshua, who had seen all the great deeds of the Lord which he had done for Israel. Yohanan answered, thou Babylonite, does the verse say... So what? He addresses him as a Babylonite. So... is he making a statement that is delineating from their relationship to how they do things and are supposed to be as Israelis, as opposed to Babylon? Oh, this is fascinating. Does the verse say that lived many years? It only says many days. Now, according to Ar Yohanan's argument, does the verse Deuteronomy 11:21, in order that your days may be multiplied and the days of your children, etc., also means days and not years? In this verse, it is different, where a blessing is confirmed, days and years are meant. So okay, so when there's a blessing, then the days also means the years. Okay, that's like they want, well, it that sounds reasonable, but why is that so? Anyway, Haya Barabba said, again, in the name of Yohanan, if one brother die, let the remaining brother take care that they do not die. Or if a member of a society die, let the other members take care that they die not. This means if the best one among them die, another says on the contrary, if the least among them die. The prescribed quantity of wool, etc., Ar-Yosef showed the extent of a double sit as being twice the distance between the fore and the middle finger when spread out, and Ar-Hayabarama showed its extent as being the distance between the thumb and the forefinger when spread out. Yeah, you see, like, they can't even keep their measurements straight. Ar Yehuda said, one who chases a bird into a bird tower or a deer into a house is culpable. What? Why is deer going in the house? I mean, like, the skill of leading a deer into a house, that's pretty impressive. We're talking about wild deer. I'm assuming they're wild deer. And when you mean house, do you just mean into a structure? Like, does a barn count as going into a house? A deer into a house, yard, or into a menagerie is culpable. Said Simon ben Gamaliel. Not all menageries are equal. Following is the rule. Where another chase would be necessary to catch the deer, one is not culpable. Where no further chase is necessary, one is culpable. That's right, hunting is supposed to be involved in this chapter. The rabbis taught one who caught a blind or a sleeping deer is culpable. But if the deer is lame, sick, or old, he is not culpable, said Abaya to Ar Yosef. What difference is there between the two? Answered Ar Yosef. A blind or a sleeping deer, as soon as touched, would attempt to escape, whereas a lame or sick animal could not do this. Have we not learned in a Boretha that one who caught a sick deer is culpable? This presents no difficulty. The rabbis referred to a deer sick with fever when it was impossible for it to move, while the Boretha refers to sickness arising from overexertion. Sickness from overexertion? It's a deer. It just, like, it doesn't get sick. Exertion, that just means it gets fatigued. It might, maybe it pulls a muscle and it's injured, but that's not sick. Unless they have a completely different definition of sickness, where it includes different things or excludes certain things. Either way, this makes very little sense. Mishnah, if a deer run into a house and one lock the doors behind the deer, he, the man, is culpable. If two men lock the doors, both are free. If one of them could not lock them himself and both did so, they are both culpable. Our Simon declares them free. If one sit down at the entrance of the house without filling it up and another sits down beside him, thus filling up the gap, the latter is guilty. If the former sat down at the entrance and filled it up, and another came up and sat beside him, the former, even if he got up and walked away, is culpable, and the latter free, for this is the same as if one locked his house to preserve its contents and a deer were on the inside. Gemara Ar Jeremiah bar Eba, in the name of Samuel, said, one who catches a lion on the Sabbath is not culpable until he brings him into his cage. Ar Eba said, in the name of Arhaya bi Ashi, quoting Rab, If a bird flew under a man's coat skirt, the man may keep it there until dark. Ar Nachman B. Itzhak objected from the above Mishnah, if a man sat down at the entrance and filled it up, and another came up and sat beside him, the former, even if he got up and walked away, is culpable and the latter is free. Would we not assume that the man is free, i.e., he need bring no sin offering, but he should not have done it in the first place? Nay, it means he is free and may do so to commence with. This seems to be borne out by the latter part of the Mishnah, for this is the same as if one locked his house to preserve its contents and a deer were on the inside. It is certainly allowed to close the house on a Sabbath, and hence, being the same as locking the house, it is allowed in the first place. Said Samuel, at all times, when it is taught that one is not culpable of performing work on the Sabbath, it is meant that while he is not culpable, he must not perform such work to commence with, excepting in the three following instances. One of the three has just been mentioned, concerning the deer. The second is when one lances a wound on the Sabbath. If the intention is to extract the pus contained in the wound, he is not culpable, and may do so in the first place. As we have learned in a following Mishnah, that sewing a needle may be used to remove a splinter from the flesh. The third is when one catches a snake on the Sabbath, and he did so in order to escape being bitten. He is not culpable, and many do so to commence with, as we have learned in a preceding Mishnah, that one may put a vessel over a serpent in order to escape being bitten. Okay, there we go. We're going to call it right here. Perfect. Length of a sit in the distance, running over one's head. So, chapter 14 will be next time. I'll see if I can squeeze it in tomorrow. Regulations concerning the catching of reptiles, animals, and birds. Oh, good. I have to find out that every time I am catching Locke, I am catching him in a way that pleases their Lord. Anyway, thanks for tuning in, people. Hope you had a okay time listening to this madness for 3 hours. We are on page 211 now, out of 346. So 130 something to go. We will get there in a couple of weeks. All right. I have a pretty busy week next week also, so I might be able to get in a late afternoon stream during the week next week. We shall see. Catch you guys later.